When you hear the name Alan Turing, what do you picture? For most of us, it's the character from the movies, right? A lone genius building this incredible machine that wins World War II. But the real man was so much more complex, and his true contribution, way more profound than any movie could ever show. So let's get into it and separate the Hollywood story from the incredible reality. You see, long before Bletchley Park, before he ever saw an Enigma machine, Turing was wrestling with a problem that had the world's best mathematicians totally stumped. And this quote, it kind of gives you a peek into what he was really after, not just breaking a wartime code, but figuring out the absolute limits of what was even possible to compute. Now, that film was a fantastic introduction for millions of people, no doubt about it. But think of it as just the opening chapter. What we're going to do is peel back those layers of Hollywood drama to get to a truth that's, believe it or not, even more amazing. Okay, so first, let's just quickly revisit the story that most of us know, the dramatic, high-stakes Hollywood version of the man who won the war. You know the story, right? This socially awkward genius, clashing with his superiors, building this one massive machine he names Christopher, all by himself. And then there's that perfect movie moment, a sudden eureka moment in a pub, and poof, the code is broken and the path to winning the war is clear. It makes for great cinema, but it's not exactly how it went down. So let's switch gears from the movie version to the actual history, the real hardware. What was this machine really like? Okay, let's do a quick fact check. First off, the machine wasn't called Christopher. The codebreakers called it the Victory Bomb. And Turing didn't just dream it up out of thin air. The design was hugely inspired by an earlier Polish code-breaking machine. And this is the big one. There wasn't just one machine. By the end of the war, Bletchley Park was like a factory, running over 200 of these things 24/7. And the reality is, this was a massive, massive team effort. Turing was a genius, no question, but he worked side by side with people like Gordon Welchman, whose ideas were so crucial it's honestly a crime he was left out of the movie. And their work was built on the foundation laid by Polish codebreakers. The machines themselves, built by a whole company of engineers. This wasn't one guy in a hut. This was an industrial-scale operation with thousands of people. But here's the biggest plot twist of all. That incredible war-winning Bombi machine, it wasn't even Turing's most important idea. Not even close. His real, lasting legacy is something much bigger, much more fundamental. So before the war, Turing was obsessed with this thing, the Entscheidungsproblem. Yeah, it's a mouthful, I know, but the basic idea is this. Could you create one single surefire method, an algorithm, that could look at any mathematical statement and tell you yes or no whether it's provably true? To put it another way, cracking the Enigma code was a very specific problem. But Turing, he was thinking on a totally universal scale. He wasn't just trying to build a machine to solve one problem. He was trying to figure out the very nature of what any machine could ever be capable of solving. And to solve that giant problem, he dreamed up this beautiful, simple idea. It's not a real physical thing. It's a thought experiment, a Turing machine. All it is an infinitely long piece of tape, a little head that can read and write symbols on the tape, and a basic set of rules. It sounds almost childishly simple, right? But with this abstract idea, Turing could describe any algorithm that could possibly exist. And here is the mind-blowing part. In the process of proving that there were some problems this universal machine couldn't solve, he accidentally laid out the complete theoretical blueprint for every single computer that exists today. The smartphone in your pocket, the laptop on your desk, they are all, at their very core, physical versions of his imaginary machine. So, keeping that foundational, world-changing idea in your head, let's jump back to Bletchley Park and see how all that theoretical genius was put to work on the very real problem of winning a war. So how did the Bombay actually do it? It wasn't some kind of magic box. First, the codebreakers needed a crib, basically a really good guess of a word or phrase that might be in the coded message, like the German word for weather. From that guess, they created a kind of logical map. Then they fed that map to the Bombay, and the machine just started grinding through thousands upon thousands of possible Enigma settings. It wasn't looking for the right answer. It was just looking for a setting that didn't create a logical contradiction. When it found one, it would stop, and then the human experts would take over. Now, the impact of this whole process, it's honestly hard to fathom. But let's start with just a single number, 2. More than 2 years. That's how much time the work done by Turing and the thousands of others at Bletchley Park is estimated to have shaved off the deadliest conflict in all of human history. And what does shortening a war by 2 years really mean? In human terms,
Well, it means this number, 14 million.
An estimated 14 million lives. That is the absolutely staggering impact of what they accomplished. This wasn't just about math puzzles and whirring machines. It was about this.
And after the war, his ideas just kept defining the future. In computer science, there's this foundational chart, the Chomsky hierarchy. Think of it like a power ranking for different types of computation. And right there at the very top, type 0, the most powerful, most capable class of computation there is, yep, Turing machines. He didn't just contribute to the field, he defined its outer limits.
But for the man who saved millions of lives and basically invented the modern world, the world he saved showed him absolutely no gratitude. His end is just a heartbreaking part of his story.
In 1952, the very government that Turing had helped rescue from disaster prosecuted him for being a gay man. He was given a horrible choice: go to prison or undergo chemical castration. He chose the latter. 2 years later, he was dead at just 41. It took almost 60 years for him to get a royal pardon for a crime that should never, ever have been a crime.
And yet, even during those terrible final years, his mind was still looking to the future, still pushing at the biggest questions. In a paper he wrote in 1950, he asked this one simple but world-changing question. He proposed a test. Could a machine hold a conversation so convincingly that a person couldn't tell if they were talking to a machine or another human? He called his thought experiment the imitation game. And that, right there, is where the film got its title. It's the question that kicked off the entire field of artificial intelligence. So Turing's story isn't just about the past. He didn't just give us a machine to win a war. He gave us the very idea of the device you're probably watching this on right now. His abstract, universal machine is everywhere. And that leaves us with a final thought. He asked if machines could think. Now that his machines are all around us, what are the really important questions we should be asking them?